inform that has a different part, and it is an introduction to engineering physics or physical science, because there are two batches, like engineering physics batch as well as integrated MSc batch. So the course structure may be like it is a little bit of structured in the sense like you can have some coherent lectures, but in reality it may not be the case. So every faculty will try to what you call sort of illuminate light on some particular areas of physics rather than physics. I would say like more like applied physics. And definitely there are different areas in physics, right? Somebody may be interested in some basic science, somebody may be interested in some applied field and so on. And also when we talk about the applied field, there are vast areas. I mean, definitely cannot restrict within a few lectures, okay, this is what the physics is. So what I'll try to give you some sort of an overview is in today's I mean, like in 21st centuries, we all know that the energy demand is there, but the supply is not much. So there are two ways to tackle it: either you generate a lot of energy or you save energy. So both can have a big impact. So there comes the lighting part, because without light we cannot do anything. I mean, daytime probably we'll be able to work, but nighttime definitely we don't have. I mean, like if there is no light, we cannot work. So that means your work hour also will go down if there is no light. Especially like in tropical countries, we don't because here we have almost like 12 hours of daytime. We don't feel like we are okay. We have to work more. But if you go to slightly like the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, the daytime and nighttime will change depending on the kind of the season you have. Maybe during summer you can have more like longer daytime, and during winter there will be very short winter. A very short daytime. So then what you can do is, if there is no light, you need artificial lighting, and that's what the lighting becomes so important in this civilization. Now, in my lecture, I'll try to give you some sort of an overview of solid state lighting. And solid state lighting, definitely, when we'll talk about solid state lighting, next would be the light emitting diodes and the lasers. Because the lasers and light emitting diode, they are quite uh, like there is a similarities. I mean, although the working is slightly different, but uh, unless you know the light emitting diode, you cannot work on the solid state lasers also. But couple of lectures I'll try to focus on the lighting, which is basically solid state lighting, and little bit of the material aspect, like what are the materials used for solid state lighting, what are the properties, and how to design some high efficiency LEDs and so on. So that's what I'll be doing in next two classes. So let us start with the very introductory part of it. Like, so as I
This
said, like,
beep sound is still coming.
yeah, maybe I need to figure it out how to do that. All these things are unchecked. So, okay, let me just go back to the settings again. So if okay, if I meeting info, right? No, this is meeting info, not the meeting settings. I was trying to figure it out, but I'm still because all this.
Sir, in audio and video, you can get
Video setting switch to audio.
audio and video.
No, there actually I checked it. See, as I said, like all these things are. Let me just try one more time. Meeting, then settings. Notification. They're all. off. No, this beep sound is not coming, right?
So there is a drop down list
That's a different one.
in the notification
Audio,
section.
let me check. Audio bell test. No. These are all off. I think still it is going. Okay, it's now fine. I think most of you guys have already settled down. Uh, yeah, go back to the presentation again. So, as I've said, right, the lighting actually starts long time back. I mean, like if you look at the civilizations, even like much before, like we think about it. I mean, it started like sometimes like 500,000 years ago, like first torch, 70,000 years ago, like first lamp, things like 1000 BC, first candle, 1772, gas lighting, and so on. So these are some of the lights probably already people have been using. We are most famous about the Edison lamp, which is started much earlier. And here you can see all this history starting from like some civilized centuries, like 1800 centuries to 1900 centuries, and so on. Now, okay, definitely like some of them are not so efficient at that time, but still good enough to do a lot of activities with this light. And later on, like starting 20th century sometime, we are more sort of what do you call sort of focused what kind of light we are choosing, what is the quality of light, what is the energy consumption of light. So we started thinking about other aspect of light rather than okay light we need light to work. Rather than that, we started thinking about the efficiency of the light, energy savings of the light, and so on. And that is where the compact fluorescent lamp came into the picture. And that time, like this is supposed to be the energy saver, and it has been known commercially like energy saver because you can have the same intensity of light using CFL rather than say incandescent lamp. So it was going on for almost like 10-15 years, and suddenly this light emitting diode come into the fixtures. And then the CFL technology also nowadays sort of obsolete. I mean, you may still see some old lamp, but no one is not, no industries are not making the CFL lamp anymore. Now, in 21st century is all about the solid state lighting, and that's what the lighting technology come into the picture. I say lighting technology means we need to also understand the economic aspect of it, whether it is really beneficiary or not. Now, if you look at the overall consumption of power, you'll see like almost like 21% of the electricity is used in lighting. Right? So that means whatever we generate, some gigawatt of power, or like if you look at the global perspective, it's almost like more than terawatt of power. The 21% of that electricity goes to generate light. So now, if you start saving energy by using efficient solid state lighting, definitely you will be able to save a lot of energies. And if you look at the market, you can see like projected financial savings almost like 100 more than 100 billion dollar by 2020, right? And also like if you look at the energy payback time, because the LEDs are so efficient and their lifetime is so long compared to the say incandescent bulb. Fluorescent lamp is even lower than incandescent bulb. So so then definitely people started investing more into the solid state lighting. And apparently, when this technology came into the market, they were slightly expensive than the CFL or other incandescent lamp. Maybe you can buy like a 40-watt bulb with 50 rupees, or maybe you need that same amount of energy to generate. You need to pay like 200 rupees of LED bulb and so on. So overall there is a little bit of expense at the beginning, but because the lifetime of these LEDs are much higher compared to the incandescent lamp or fluorescent lamp, people started investing more into solid state lighting. And then I would say like last 10 years, probably the solid state lighting has got like a really huge market, not only in India, but in the across the globe. So you can see the projected like from 2010, like last one decade, you can see the kind of rise this LED market has compared to these previous years. Right? And if you look at the efficiency, initially it was like incandescent, then there are some halogen bulb, halogen lamp, which are supposed to be higher efficient than incandescent lamp. Then fluorescence come into the picture, almost like 80 lumen per watt. We'll talk about all these efficiency parameters and so on. But at that time, the white LED was not so efficient. Probably that is the reason why fluorescence become so popular at that time, like early 2000s. Right? But later on, 2020, 2010, these white LED which are available in the market, they're almost like comparable, or rather, maybe it's slightly lower than that. So around like 6 to 11 per watt. But we are expecting that it would go up. And now this has jumped up to close to 100 lumen per watt, or maybe like 90 lumen per watt. Nowadays, if you go to the market and buy light emitting diode or white LEDs, it will be written like say 900 lumen, 90 lumen per watt, or maybe like 100 lumen per watt, close to that. So this is the trend now. Now, definitely, the luminous efficiency has gone up over a period of time, and that is not only for the color LEDs, which were initially very bright or very high, like red, yellow, green, and blue, but nowadays white LEDs also has very high uh, luminous efficiencies. So that is the reason nowadays all these lightings are based on the solid state light. So also at the same time, you can see the lifetime of these LEDs are also quite high. Initially, it was not so high. Just the measured one, you can see the lifetime was not so high. So it is claimed that it would have very high sort of lifetime. So initially it was not high, but nowadays all this lamp has very high or very long lifetime. So even if you invest at higher price, it can last for a long time. So its payback time is quite short in that sense. Now, what is the technology? If everything is so far, everything is done. So what is the technology people are still scouting, or people are still working on? So definitely, like most of the LEDs nowadays you do see in the market are basically the inorganic LEDs. But later on, people started looking at more cheaper and more like some materials which can be easily manufactured, because all these inorganic LEDs are expensive, and then you cannot make very large area devices. So you can make a pixelated one and then arrange them, and that's what you can do. But nowadays there are some technologies like say organic LEDs or like perovskite based LEDs, which can be solution processed. You can make on a large area substrate, and that is what the new technologies are coming into the picture. So then the challenges are to improve the efficiency beyond like whatever at this moment the efficiency we do have. Efficiency of light generation, improved efficiency of light extraction. So one of the biggest challenge in light emitting diode, especially for like surface mount light emitting diode, maybe in next class updates I'll be talking about, because all these organic or inorganic materials, inorganic semiconductors we use, they have a very high dielectric constant, and then you have air. So high dielectric to air, there is a dielectric, huge dielectric mismatch. So then what will happen is most of the lights are trapped within the device itself. They don't come out of the surface. So then how to improve the light extraction efficiency? This is what one of the bottleneck. Maybe I can use the separator. So this is one of the bottleneck why the external quantum efficiency is not high in some of the LEDs. So these are the challenges in recent years, like people have been trying to address, and I mean, like people are addressing some of these challenges. And definitely the cost has to be reduced. So at this moment, as I said, like you can buy 40 watt of incandescent lamp at a much cheaper price compared to say 40 watt of LEDs. They are much more expensive, right? So the cost has to be reduced. So these are some of the challenges. Now, what exactly LED light in compared to the other light source we do have, like say incandescent lamp, or say compared fluorescence lamp, or maybe some other light source like mercury vapor lamp or sodium vapor lamps. There are different light source generally we do see in our day-to-day life. Definitely the quality of light we get from different sources are very different. So to understand or to classify what kind of light source it is, we need to know different parameters like what is radiometry, what is photometry, and what is colorimetry. So these are the three different areas in like where we can talk about the measurement in different aspect or different perception, we can say. So when you talk about the vision, like what our eye is sensitive, then we'll be talking about the photometry, right? That means like what we do see, like it doesn't matter what wavelength it is coming, like how I perceive the color, that is what the photometry is. Now you guys might have basic knowledge of like biology in your 10th standard. Probably you guys know like how we see things in our eyes. So there are two types of like photosensitive photosensitive cells, which are known as like rod cells and cone cells. Cone cells are sensitive to the colors, or you can see like that has a photopic vision. Normally at high intensity, cone cells are active, and you do see a different colors. So now if you look at the responsivity curve of cone cells, it gives like this. So it will have a response from somewhere 400 to maybe like somewhere like 530, 540 is the maximum. That means eye has sensitive towards green much more than the blue or the red. So if you have the same intensity of blue or red color or green color, we will see the green is more brighter than blue or the red color, right? So that is what the our eye sensitivity is. So definitely whenever we design some sort of a light source, we have to make sure that in our eyes the colors are much more brighter. So our sensitivity, eye sensitivity matches with the light source itself. Then when you go to the low light intensity, that is known as the scotopic vision. Scotopic vision is basically when the illumination intensity is very low, we do not see or we do not perceive the color of this object. So we can see some sort of object is there. It could be like more like a gray color. We can have, I mean, generally we don't see the depth perception as well. You can just see the, okay, there is some object, but you cannot see like what is exact the color, what is the depth of this object, and so on. So this is known as the scotopic vision. And cone cells are basically red, green, and blue sensitives, right? So this is what the eye sensitivity is. Now, in radiometry, what we do is basically we talk about the output power of the source. In photometry, we talk about the intensity we perceive in our eyes. So that is what there are two things, like one is radiometry, one is photometry. So probably in some courses it will be much more clear. So there is an advanced course in MTech. Normally, I used to take that course like solid state lighting. There we talk about details about the radiometry and photometry. So in radiometry, we talk about like watt, like it could be electrical power, like watt, or we can talk about the watt per nanometers. That is the radiometry, what do you call it, units. But at the same time, we can talk about the photometry, like what is the intensity we perceive in our eyes. So that is normally known as the luminous flux. We can talk about the luminous intensities. So sometimes it's also given by lumen per watt. So these are the similar parameters. Although if you look at the dimensionality, there could be similarities, but because they are used in two different contexts, one is the source Other one is the way we perceive the intensities or the yeah. So that's what there are two different ways. One is radiometry and one is photometry. And when we talk about the colorimetry, that's the mixer of all these things, like what is the wavelength and so on. Now, in solid state lighting, we are more interested in the luminescence. That means what is the intensity coming out of some source. Source could be the point source. Source could be extended source. For example, like if I talk about a very small bright LEDs, they are like a point source. But if you look at the tube lights or maybe some other light source, which can be like the illumination is coming from the surface. So that could be a extended source of light. So definitely when we talk about the luminescence, we need to talk about what is the flux coming out some per unit area or so on, right? So sometimes it is given in terms of like candela per meter square, sometimes it's given like in terms of lux and so on. So there are different units. So when we talk about the radiometry, we'll be talking about the candela per meter square. When we talk about the photometry, we'll be talking about lux. So that's what in photometry we'll be talking about illuminance. Illuminance is basically lumen per watt or lux. So or lumen per meter square. Sorry, lumen per meter square. That's the lux. And if you look at the sunlight, like what we get on the Earth surface, that varies somewhere like 10 to 4 to 10 to 5 lux, depending on the cloudiness. I mean, if there is clear sky, at noon, probably you'll get more than like 10 to 5 lux. If there are some cloudy weather and sometimes like dark cloud, even it can go down to like 10 to 4 lux and so on. And if you look at the like moonlight, this is somewhere like 0.1 lux. You can see the difference between the sunlight and the moonlight, the intensity difference. That's huge. Right? That's what normally in night time you don't see color. You always your rod cells are active. You only see the object or perceive some object, but you don't perceive the color. Now, definitely, like depending on kind of activity we do, right? So, for example, like I'm reading in my room, like what kind of intensity we do need, or I'm working in some very small. I'm working with some very small object I need to see, or some object I need to see. What kind of light we need, and so on. So, what is the light outside room during daytime? What we get? So depending on the kind of work or kind of activity we do, we also need to design. So this is another part of like the solid state lighting technology, to design a light source which are more efficient, as well as like you don't feel like okay there is less light or something like that. And also we'll be talking about the purity of the light. Like for example, if I take say incandescent lamp or LED lamp, they will have a different color spectrum, right? We will be talking about the correlated color temperature, the color rendering index, and so on. So these are very rich physics behind it, like how we perceive color. It's not that easy that okay there is an object we see some color. It depends on also like what light source we illuminate with it, right? Whether we illuminate with the white LEDs or some like sodium paper lamp or some mercury paper lamp or maybe some incandescent lamp. So the color it appears will be very different depending on what kind of light source you choose. And that's what you can also quantify or classify the light source based on the color it appears, right? So that we'll be talking about sometimes. So normally like in a public space, like people are just roaming around, you don't need very bright intensity. I mean you need only very small illuminants or low intensity of light, so maybe like 30 to 100, right? But if you are working in some residential areas or maybe some industrial areas, commercial areas, you sometimes need bright light, or maybe like 300 to 1000 lumen per meter square, or maybe you can say like 300 to 1000 lux. Some special visual tasks, including those with very small or very low contrast critical elements, need much brighter light, maybe 3000 to 10,000 lux. So depending on kind of work we do, we need to choose the illuminants. And definitely if you have more illuminants, that's maybe sometimes it's of no use. So that is what the lighting design is very essential for efficient use of energy. Now, so now what is the difference between now colorimetry? Because color comes because of the wavelength of the light source we do have. So there are some international organizations. We basically there are some different organizations we basically have, like whether I mean, depending on the, just a minute. So this international organization, what they do is, like, if I have some color, how do I classify what color is this, whether it's purple, green, blue, or what kind of color is this? So to match that, there are some functions which can be defined in terms of mathematical formalism, and that is what comes into the colorimetry course. So you can see, like, if you have some sort of a wavelength which is very sensitive to blue, so definitely if that matches with the x coordinate, x will be maximum, but then y and z coordinate will be 0. So I can take any function and split into three different uh, function of like x, y, z, and then classify what is the weightage of x, what is the weightage of y, what is the weightage of z, right? So if I see like x, y, and z, they are all equal, like 0.33, 0.33, 0.33, that will be pure white color, right? And CRI will be 1. And if the these parameters are slightly like it's more like x, y, and z is equal to 0. So ultimately, sum of x plus y plus z has to be 1. So if one of them is high, other two are not, so it will have definitely a different color, and that is what we'll be talking about, the color coordinate or chromaticity. This is known as the chromaticity coordinate, and you can have a different color temperature, different color rendering index. So that means, like, we can define any color in a mathematical formalism rather than having some wavelength functions. We can have some mathematical formulas, and that is known as colorimetry. So don't mix with the calorimetry. That's a different thing. This is a colorimetry.
So,
Yeah.
I have a doubt in the previous slide, sir.
Yeah.
So the graph is watt versus wavelength. On the y-axis, what's on the y-axis?
So y-axis is basically the intensity.
Okay, intensity in the unit.
Any arbitrary unit. So any function can be normalized. You can have any arbitrary unit, and then like you can like basically, like, you can normalize them, whatever the weights. So if you have some
Okay.
sort of a spectrum, right? Now, how do I split into these three coordinates? So I have to define these three, x and y and z. So probably this next slide will be more clear. So what this CIE, this is some international organization which does this
Okay, sir.
chromaticity coordinate. What they do is, like, if I have some color, can I define using some sort of a coordinate? So now, as I said, like, x plus y plus z is always equal to 1. So if I know x and y, right, then I can define what is z. So z becomes sort of redundant. So then all these color can be mapped into a coordinate systems here. Like, this is known as chromaticity coordinate. So definitely there are all these mathematical formulas we will not be able to discuss in details in a couple of classes. So this is to give you overview that color can be coordinated. Like, you guys might have been doing like Photoshop or some other softwares, right? In any photo editing
Yes.
software.
Yes, sir.
And you guys might have noticed that there are different color numbers you can put, or if it is a RGB, You can define what is R percentage, what is Z percentage, what is B percentage, like red, green, and blue
Yes, sir.
percentage. So if you choose a different percentage of RGB, you get a different color.
Yes, sir.
This is also the mathematical formalism of color. This is what the colorimetry is. And the chromaticity coordinate is defined such a way that any color can be mapped on these diagrams. So you have some sort of like parabolic curve here, and then there is a straight line here. So it starts from blue, this is green, and this is red. And if you go to the center of this coordinate, you get green, pure white color. So if you go towards this side, you get more green. You go towards this side, you get more blue. You get towards this side, you get red. And some wavelengths are which are like sort of monochromatic. You can get these are the colors like 400, 460, 480, 490, some color. So these are sort of like pure color. They are not the mixed color. So the boundary of this chromaticity chart gives you the pure color. But if you have to get any color in between, that will not be a pure color. That will be a mixture of two colors. So you cannot get the pure color of like somewhere like here. If my coordinate is here, I cannot get a pure color. It has to be mix of like I can get like green and blue with some percentage to get that. So maybe let me just draw some lines.
Is this the spectral locus?
Yes, sort of, you can call it. Yeah.
So it's in the two-dimensional form, not including the z-axis, which has the luminosity.
Yes. So why I said this, because if you know x and y, you can find out 1 minus x plus y is equal to z. Right. So for example, like you have say R, like simple example, you can have the RGB. So these things has been used for in many places, like your color printer also use the R.
Yes, actually, I'm into photography, so that's why I know
Yes.
luminous locus.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
So
why.
depending on,
Thank you, sir.
this is 0.3, this is 0.3, and this is 0.33, or maybe like 0.33. So then you get this part, right? So any color in between, like if I say like I need any color, I'll mix this color and this color with some ratio of these two. So this look, I will get some color mix, so you get this color, right? So that's what like x plus y plus z is equal to 1. So if I know these two, then definitely the third coordinate is basically redundant, right? So that is what this color like a chromaticity diagram shows. Now from the chromaticity diagram also you can see these are some numbers written. These are known as the color temperature. So color temperature has some sort of a like significance, because if you think about the black body radiation, or this is also known as the Planckian locus or black body radiation. So if I know the temperature of the black body, I can get some sort of a color spectrum, right? So if I get some color, I get some sort of a it is why it is sweeping out, I don't know. So if I know the temperature of the black body, I can get the color of this body here, right? So, and that depends on what is the temperature, right? So definitely increasing temperature there will be a blue shift, decreasing temperature there will be a red shift. So that is what you can see. This is like color temperature 2000. So if you have a the black body which has a body temperature 2000 Kelvin, this is definitely in Kelvin. So you get a color which is quite similar to the coordinate here. So if you increase the temperature of the body, it goes to somewhere here and beyond that. So if the temperature of the body increases, it goes toward like more like a bluish color rather than like reddish color, right? And sometimes when you buy commercial LEDs, you might have seen like warm white or cool white. Warm white is basically your low temperature, because its color is more towards the red, whereas the cool white is more like a high temperature color temperature. This is also known as correlated color temperature, CCT. So higher the temperature, it will be more like a bluish white. Right? So these are very important aspect of the solid state lighting. What kind of light source we will choose for different applications, and that's what whenever you design any LEDs, you need to also calculate the color coordinate, because that also gives you the purity of the color. So if it is on the Planck loci, it is like more pure color. If it is away from the loci, definitely it will have a different color. So the color rendering index will come into the picture. We'll talk about maybe color rendering index sometimes. We'll see, like, if I can get some time today itself. So if the point is not on the Planck locus, definitely the color rendering index will be very different, right? So in standard CIE source or CIEs, definitely there are different point. You can say commercially you can get like 3000 color temperature, or maybe like 5000 color temperature. So these are different source. You can see, like, A is the tungsten at this temperature, tungsten lamp. This is basically like a Planck. This tungsten lamp will have like a Planck source or black body radiation. This is the direct sunlight, approximately like 5000 K. That's the sort of purest you can think about on the earth we can get. That's the 4870 Kelvin. Overcast sunlight, that will be even higher temperature. That's more like a bluish color. D65 daylight, this is a different source, equal energy source. So these are all like equal energy source and so on. So these are some of the natural light source which will have color temperature on this Planck locus. Now, if I design any LEDs, it is very difficult to put it on this locus. Definitely, the color spectrum will be very different than this spectrum itself. Now, when we talk about the white light, it is nothing but the mixing of the many colors. Definitely, like when you look at the rainbow colors, so there are so many colors mixed in a different percentage, and that's what you get the purest white. But you can generate the white light just by mixing red, green, blue. So this is your red, green, and blue at a different percentage. So if you mix red and blue, you get this color, sort of like pink shade. You get red and green. It might be very it's not very intuitive. Like if you mix these two color, you get yellow. You guys can try at home, like take two LEDs of red and green and just focus on some particular point. You will see it will turn out to be yellow. Now this is a yellow color which is mixed of R and like red and green, and you can have another yellow which is pure yellow, like maybe 580 or 590. That can be another yellow. So definitely our eye will not be able to distinguish whether it's a mixed yellow color or a pure yellow color, right? Same as like sand color. If you mix like blue and green, you get some sort of sand color. And again, you can have like 510. That's also a sand color. Maybe like 500 to 510. I would say, like somewhere this would appear something like sand color. Or you can have blue and green mix. You can have sand color. So some colors can be monochromatic, or you can have a mixture of that. So this is what, when you mix RGB at equal percentage, you get white light source, and that is what, when we design the it's not only the cameras, not only the display technology. Nowadays, all this white light source you get commercially available white light source, they are also mixture of like all three colors at a different ratios, and then you can control the color temperature, you can control the color rendering index and so on. So by mixing three different colors, you can also have a multiple of that. Maybe like we'll be talking about how to design the white LED source and so on. So you can have more than that. Like this is the simple one. You can have even CYMK, cyan, yellow, magenta, and black. So CYM, these three also you can add up, and you can get like white color. So depending on how to mix all these colors. I got hanged. it's not moving. Okay, my PowerPoint actually got crashed. Just a minute, my PowerPoint got crashed. Because there's writing too much. So definitely, it's you get very white light, as I said, like you can mix RGB and you can get the color. Now this is it only RGB or we can mix just color and get the white light. Now there is one area you can see, like I take this one as this. Depending on what is the intensity I choose, blue and yellow, I can get white light source here. So I can draw any line here, and then I can take two points on this thing, which will be passing this point here, and if I can adjust the intensity of this light source, we can get white light source. So this is the color mixing from this diagram, and that is the way we can design the white light. It could be one LED and then one fluorescence. So there are different aspects of that. Or you can have a very bright blue emissions with the yellow and green phosphorescence or fluorescence. We can mix different ways to generate the white light source. Now, as I said, like the perception is very important here. Like what we perceive in our eyes is very important here. So I can take any light source, I can mix these two colors, and it may appear like white source, but in reality it's not. Like if I have like sunlight, I can see any color at a purest form. Like if I have red, green, purple, or whatever color source you do have, I can see that very purely. But if I take any other light source like LEDs, I may not be able to see all the color very purely. So then there is a concept called color rendering index. So ideally, if the source is very uniformly distributed, or the white light source has all this wavelength present, then I should be able to see any colors. And then we can call it the color rendering index is close to 100 or 100. Now, if I take two colors and then in between I don't have any other colors, so then any object which has some particular set of colors, maybe like if I just give you some sort of example, that I can take two colors of say here and here, right? So maybe this is where like your 510 cyan color, and this is somewhere like say reddish color like 670 or something like that, and somewhere the green resin is not there. So if I have any object which is somewhere here, this color source will not be able to reflect that, because the object will not reflect any color from this part, because there is no color itself. Although when these two colors are mixed, it may appear the white color source, but the object which absorbs somewhere here and emits somewhere here will not give you any color. Then it may appear like very dark color. But if I have another source which is very broad, something like this, right? All this spectrum are present, then I'll be able to see that color, right? That green color will be able to see that. So that means this white source and this white source, they are not exactly identical. This can give you all this color like what I want to see, but this will not give you all this color what I want to see. So then the color rendering index of this source will be high, very close to 100, and this will be much lower, right? So here you can see like light gray is red, light blue is green. So there are different colors. There are different spectrum, and if I have to see, I mean, there are different color gamut. I mean, like there are different method. Again, there are some standard rules. Some cases they use like 8 different color gamut. If all the color gamuts are looking same, then it will have CRI 100 or like uniform. But if out of like 8 color gamuts, some of them are not looking good or equal, then definitely the color index will come down. Same as like if you think about like say sodium vapor lamp, definitely it will not give you the very good color contrast. Same as like when you go to market, probably it is very common when you go to market, especially like those who like clothes and other things. Try to go to like some shop, buy some clothes, knowing or assuming that okay, this is the color. You come back home, and the next day morning you try to see the color. It may appear very different, and that is because the light source they are using at the shop may not be pure white light source. So that means the color appears there is very different than the color when you see under sunlight. That is what the color rendering index becomes. So I think I'm already running out of time for. So I'll keep discussing on that. This is very fascinating. This area of like understanding the color and like how the light sources are designed. It's very fascinating. So those who are interested, definitely like you can. Well, solid state lighting nowadays also a very big thing, especially like big industries and especially like designing efficient light source. Like it's very promising, I would say. And apart from that, like how to design efficient, low cost LEDs, lighting lasers and other areas. So I'll stop it here. If you guys have any questions, queries, you guys can drop a message or email to me.
So can we get the slide?
I'll share this slide in the MS Team. So
Thank you so much,
guys
sir.
can
Thank you.
because a lot of things will I will not be teaching. So then what you can do is you guys can for yourself.
Okay, sir. It helps in revising after the class as well. So
Yes,
that's right.
sure. So that will
Thank you. Thank you
So
so much.
anyway, because this 2 class is not nothing. I mean, just to give you. So the idea of this course is to give you the overview. Whichever you are interested, you can go in details, read more, because this is the beginning of your like 4 years journey. Right? Whichever interests you, you can grow more interest on that. You can learn more about it. Right? So I'll put this slide in the MS Team, and I don't know whether there is any copyright issues because this is not all the slides are not from me. That has been taken from somewhere. I hope like you guys follow the protocol of like just for the reading purpose, not like putting into the website or somewhere else, right? So follow that strictly. Okay. Okay
Yes,
then.
sir.
See you guys on next Friday then, right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.